This radio program is sponsored by William Hemsworth. Learn more at williamhemsworth.com. God bless you. Next episode, I have a very exciting episode for you all. We're going to talk a little bit about art and faith, how they intersect. And to do that, we have Nicole and Mark Thomason from thomasonarts.com. How are you both doing today?
We're great. Thanks for having us, William.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I thank Matt for introducing us. Matt is a mutual friend. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and maybe how you got started in art?
So I grew up here in Denver, and I went to college, and I ended up just kind of like taking more art classes than anything else. And I just loved it always. And so I ended up getting a bachelor's in fine arts, and then worked as an artist, and then always had another job, of course. And then we met in grad school, and we both got masters in theology. And Nicole is art education and then theology as well. So we just love the arts and have kind of been around it our whole lives.
I've always been an artist. My parents were super supportive. Started drawing when I was little, like all children do, and then continued to pursue the arts through high school and college. And my former art teacher said to me, well, you have to pay your bills, so at least get an education degree. So that's how I ended up getting into art education. So I've been teaching for 20 years. And then Mark and I, like he said, we met at grad school when we were getting our theology degree, and continued to pursue our professional art career, and started our family business in about 2010.
About the ups and downs when you started your business.
Yeah. So the thing that art, it's a luxury item, right? Yeah. So right there, it's already not necessary. But at the same time, it is necessary. We need beauty in our houses. No one lives in a sterile, empty home. The hard part, as far as the business side of it goes, is trying to figure out the right pricing and the right product. So eventually, most artists like us eventually get into prints, because reproductions have a volume that you can't get from original work. Because most people can't afford original paintings. The truth is, like, someone's like, well, how long did it take you to paint? I was like, that's not really how art works, but let's just say 6 months. And so I always make the joke, I'll take 6 months of your salary for this painting. And they're like, oh, that's so, I was like, so when you see a $10,000 painting, it really is $10,000. And it's not just like a made up number. So that's a difficult thing. And so we took a long time to get to a place. We also make a lot of original art that we keep small, and we keep it affordable because we want people to have original work. And that's a real challenge as Catholics to say, okay, you have to make work that people can have. It's not all Sistine Chapel. It's not all giant work. And then part of that is just the education of the people on the art business. Yeah. Because you can't beat China, right? They're going to outproduce you any day.
Right.
So you have to explain to people, like, look, the same way craft beer is better than, Natty Light, original art is better than Hobby Lobby.
I would say one of the ups for me is that we share the same worldview. Like, beauty is so important, our faith is so important. So that's the way our home is. And our dreams are the same. But one of the challenges I think is really convincing people, like Mark said, that they need original, handmade, beautiful things in their life. And then, of course, juxtaposing that all with, we run our business ourselves, and we have 5 beautiful sons. So balancing family life and production of art, as well as sales, as well as the business, it's a lot of work to do that and to do that well. And we just kind of feel like we're just starting to springboard in a more successful way over the years, because we spent years raising our babies. So
I'd say another big up, though, is when you hear from people and say, I just love seeing this work in my home. I think one of the problems with generic art is you quickly ignore it. It just becomes a decoration. And that's, like, what you want is something that kind of arrests you. And it's like a good meal. Everyone's like, man, that McDonald's was amazing. No, like, you don't. So that's always great when you hear from people that have your work, or when they say they have friends over and they're like, who is that? So that's always just one of those beautiful moments that makes it more worth it.
So how does your art mix with your theological backgrounds?
So you go first.
Well, so we over the years we've worked out our language of talking about art, the differences between sacred art, religious art, and art for art's sake. So our faith and our Catholicity informs, of course, all that we do, right? So much of our work is in those three different categories. So we'll produce work that Mark has produced work that is sacred. It's meant for prayer. It's meant for worship, like in a sacred space. We also produce work that's contemporary and religious. And that could be in your home altars and different spaces. And then decorative art and art for art's sake, I really believe in like God's great cathedral is nature. So Mark and I do a lot of nature work, a pretty big body of work within nature that is, and it's informed where we live and our background and who we are, being in the West in Colorado.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times people think that, oh, you're a Catholic artist, so you do sacred art. It's like Mozart wrote operas and masses. Artists need to do everything. And so unfortunately, we get truncated a lot as Catholics. And so when we were studying theology, people were like, why are you getting a theology degree? I was like, to be a better artist. Because the more you can know the creator, the better you can create.
Yeah,
and it's just such a gift. So a lot of times it's also the first way of evangelization is art.
And beauty, right?
So if you have a giant Jesus painting at your front door, all right, that's great. But maybe a buffalo, and then around the corner is the giant Jesus painting, right? So like houses need a lot of things, and so do offices. And unfortunately, so many of our middle spaces in the church, so like the lobby of the office, that'd be a great place for a beautiful landscape, as opposed to just like a banal sort of generic thing. Because those are the ways we start moving into the sacred.
Your work with individuals, do you do it with churches? How's that looking right now? Your guys' work. I already saw the face.
It's on my face.
That kind of said it all. But I'm curious because I deal with this a lot because kids always ask me about AI as well. So I'm just curious your thoughts as artists about how to overcome that.
Well, I'll just give a story. A bishop was doing a big pilgrimage, and the poster had clearly an AI image, right? Because the hands are always wrong in the AI stuff. And I thought, just take 5 minutes and find someone and do it in real life. We deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. And I just see it just is cheapening everything. I mean, it's just cheapening everything.
Well, what comes to me is if our faith is incarnational and God took on flesh, and why would you want something that's computer generated? It's counter against who we are as Catholics and Christians. To not be conscientious consumers, intentional consumers, when we just purchase for the sake of purchasing or get involved in all of the consumerism that's out there and rely on things that are AI, you take the humanity out of it. And taking the humanity out of it is taking Christ out of our faith. To me, it doesn't make any sense. And it's a juxtaposition. And honestly, like,
it's gross.
There's so many amazing contemporary Christian Catholic artists specifically in the US, and even more. I mean, but to support those people who are trying so hard to take the gift and talent that God has given them, use that gift and talent. The Renaissance were beautiful, but we need a new Renaissance in our country and in the United States and in our churches and in our homes and in our lives, and be conscientious consumers and support the arts. And AI just simply doesn't do that. Unfortunately, I think it's taking away from people purchasing original art and supporting original artists who are working to make a living.
Actually, and I'm going to make this even worse, and I'm going to ruin something for everyone. So every Sunday for Divine Mercy, a church will bring out a poster of Divine Mercy that's in a nice frame. And it's like, no, there should be no posters in the church. Only, again, I don't mind a poster in your home. I don't mind a reproduction somewhere else. But if you're going to put a big thing up for Divine Mercy Sunday, it should be handmade. Because if not, let's just record a choir and play them at Mass. Because they're going to sing better than your local choir. Let's have Fulton Sheen preach that Sunday. No, we have real preachers. We have real music. But every Divine Mercy Sunday, I've been at so many, they'll bring out that poster, put it up, which is beautiful, but it's not real. AI is the next layer of this not real. Spend some money, hire an artist, paint a painting, bring it out every year. Like, it's not like that, just drives me crazy.
So I just wanted to get your views on that because I do writing as well, and it's affecting everything in a not a good way. Not a good way.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, the
Now,
fact that AI is coming for the artists, go for the lawyers. Like, leave the artists alone.
it's hard enough, right? From what I hear.
Yeah.
So so can you walk us through?
Right. Everybody's going to do a process differently. And for me, the process starts always with research. I like to deep dive. So if I'm going to do a portrait of a saint, I'm going to know the life of that saint because it's an encounter of me drawing the face of that person, right? The imago Dei, the face of Christ, the face of humanity. And I'm going to want to know who that person is. And then from there, I'll do sketches, exercises, and some will be good, some won't, some go in the garbage. And then I work towards a final product, whatever that final product would look like. And some of those final products are, to me, the world doesn't get to see them. They're not successful. And I wasn't happy with it, but it was still an exercise and a usage of my creative part of me. That's my process. And I usually, just for the sake, depending on if I'm painting, I do watercolors, or if I'm drawing, I work in a 3 to 4 layer system. So I'll go in and work something for one layer, then a second layer, and then a third layer, whether it's charcoal that I'm doing or whether it's watercolor, and you'll work forward. And that's just some of the techniques that I've used over time.
So for myself, I'm going to date myself, but like, I always think of the movie Hoosiers, where he had them pass the ball 5 times before they shot.
Classic.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I always think I have to touch the canvas at least 5 times. One of my big things, my mom always says, your work is so messy, but I like the drips and the brush strokes. I really want to show the human hand, but to show that, I have layers. So I usually do 5 layers minimum. And it usually means I have about 5 or 6 paintings going at once, because you paint, it's wet. So I paint wet and wet. So like, not just like very dry paintings, but like I do oil paints. So oil paints and lots of terps, and I thin it out. And so when it gets thin, it layers up and layers up and layers up. But you can ruin that by just painting right back into it. So I have to let it dry. So my paintings need dry time between layers. So that's why I usually have a couple different going. And the other thing that's really hard to quantify for most people is like just staring at it time. Like, I'll stare at a painting for a day. I'll go for a walk, come back.
Yeah. There's a lot of think time and process.
It just isn't right. I did a portrait of Mary, which I hated. And then I painted over, which is a really cool story. I painted over it, and I just like sort of had the structure of the body there, and it turned into Jesus. I was like, oh, it was supposed to be Jesus the whole time. Oh. And so I recycle a lot of paintings. If I don't like them, I'll just start painting over them. Like the masters always did that. They now X-ray paintings to see the different layers. I never want to waste the paint, because that's already some beautiful textures there. But yeah, for me, it's definitely layers and layers, and going back to it and thinking about things. The other thing, after you've done it for a long time, is composition and color theory. That kind of just starts to come to you. Like, orange looks good with blue, or looks bad. And, so you just kind of that starts to unfold itself in the process. But yeah, so again, people say, how long did it take you to paint? Well, I said 20 years, like, I've been doing this for a long time. So I don't necessarily always think about it. One of the interesting things where technology has gotten better is with projectors. You can really try different compositions out on your canvas by projecting images, as opposed to just.
What are some of the things that you discuss while you're at parishes?
We tailor it to
that.
So if people wanted to purchase your art, where could they go?
Our website, Thomas and Arts, is the best.
Yeah. All right. thomasandarts.com. Nicole and Mark, I thank you so much for your time today and sharing your passion with us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.